Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Get Out and Explore with John. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I go about setting up my travel trailer once I get to the campground. I arrived here a little while ago and got the trailer set up, but I'm going to show you the step-by-step sequence of things that I do to get the trailer set up to this point so that we can enjoy the campground. I want you to keep in mind that there are more than one way to do these things. This is just how I do it, and hopefully it will help you in the future when you get out to the campground. Especially if you're new to this, hopefully there's some things here that you'll learn from, and then we can all enjoy the great outdoors together. So the first thing I'm going to recommend you do is once you arrive at the campground and you get your campsite assignment, is to kind of walk around the site itself just to figure out the lay of the site, find out where the utilities are, make sure there are no obstructions that are going to prevent you or hinder you from backing into the site. And that includes looking at low-hanging branches above the site and the placement of the picnic table, checking to make sure that the ground is level and that you have adequate access to back in. It's always helpful to have a second person with you to help guide you into the site. It's sometimes difficult and tight to make the turn to get into the site. So if you have someone else watching as you back in, it's very helpful. In this case, I was by myself, so luckily I was able to get it back into the site on the first try here. I was trying to keep it tucked over to the left side of the parking pad here so that we would have an adequate room alongside between the trailer and the picnic table to set everything up. So we definitely wanted to squeeze it over to the left in this case, but it's going to depend on the site itself where you're going to position your trailer. Okay, now that we got it set back into the site here, the first thing I'm going to do is go around to the other side and make sure that we have enough room to put out our slide and that we can reach the electric and water and sewer. And as you can see, I've backed up to the point where the slide is now going to hit the water spigot if we leave the trailer where it is. So I need to pull up about 2 feet to allow the slide to come out. So let's do that next, and then we'll start unhooking and leveling the trailer. Okay, pulled the trailer up about 3 or 4 feet. We're going to clear the water spigot now. We can still reach the sewer and the electric right here, so let's go around to the other side. We'll get the level out and start leveling the trailer and disconnecting it from the truck. Okay, first things first, once we get the trailer positioned where we want it, safety first. Let's chalk the tires and then we'll start leveling and disconnecting from the truck. Alright, so my trailer has a tandem axle, so 2 chocks to put behind the wheels of the trailer. And then I have a pair of X chocks which I will put in between the tires to help stabilize and reduce the shake in the trailer when you're inside the trailer. And we're going to do that on both sides of the trailer just to make sure we're nice and safe. Okay, so first things first, we're going to use a block underneath the tongue jack, and then we'll use our level to level front to rear. Before I go any further, I'm going to take the anti-sway bars off so I can start disconnecting the trailer and then we'll adjust the level front to rear. Okay, to remove the anti-sway bars, I'm going to use a little tool that came with the hitch. Basically pulling the pin, removing the pin out of the way of where it needs to go. We're going to do that on both sides, so let's set these up here so we don't lose them. And then as we raise the tongue jack on the trailer, it's going to loosen the anti-sway bars and we should be able to pull them right out. The tool you really use if it gets jammed or when you're installing the sway bars when you're hooking up the trailer. So as I lift the trailer up, the bars become loose and we can pull them out. So take the pin out of the other side, slide it out, and there you have it. Repeat on the other side. Now that the anti-sway bars have been removed, we're going to finish disconnecting from the truck. So first thing we're going to do is remove the power cable, and then the emergency brake cable. Store these right here on the frame. I just kind of wind the cord up so that it's not dragging on the ground. And then the safety chains. And lastly, we're going to disconnect the ball hitch. So I always ride with a padlock on there so that I know that nobody can mess with that if I ever stop at a rest area or anything. I always want to double check that. So I'm going to disconnect the ball hitch now. Alright, now we should be able to drop the truck down and disconnect from the trailer. Okay, next, as you can see, we pulled the pin here. The truck ball hitch is separated from the trailer. So now we can go ahead and lift the trailer up. Make sure we have enough clearance before we pull the vehicle away from the trailer. Okay, that's good. So let's move the truck up and get it out of the way, and then we'll finish leveling the trailer. Alright, next step after we've disconnected the truck is to level front to rear. So I have my level set up right here. On the bay door, it's level with the floor inside. So as I adjust the trailer up and down, we'll come back and check this. I'm looking at it right now. The front of the trailer needs to come down to be level front to rear. I've already checked my side to side level. The pad where we parked is perfectly level side to side. So we're just going to level front to rear and we should be good to go. Okay, still a little bit high, so let's keep going. Okay, bubble's right in the center, so we're level front to rear. So next we're going to deploy the corner jacks to stabilize the trailer even more. Okay, first thing we're going to do is put the piece of wood underneath of the stabilizer, position it correctly, and then using the attachment that came with the trailer in my drill, we're going to put the stabilizing jack down. Alright, so once it makes contact with the ground, we want to give it one more turn, and then that's it. Do not lift the trailer up with the stabilizers. They are not meant to be load bearing. They're only meant to stabilize the trailer. So one additional crank once it makes contact with the ground, and that's it. Leave it the way it is. Repeat for the other corners. One other thing I always do once I have the truck disconnected from the trailer and I'm at the campsite is I put the lock back on the tongue here, just so when I leave the campground I know that it's going to be very hard for somebody else to come in here and hook up to my trailer and take it away. So I always do that when I'm setting the thing up. All right, the next step after you get the trailer detached from the truck and leveled on your site is to connect to the power source, the power pedestal right here. This one looks pretty new, but I always recommend using a surge protector before you connect. So we're gonna plug in the surge protector and make sure that the circuit is good before we connect our power to the trailer, because if we don't do that and there's an issue, you could fry your whole trailer, and we don't want that. So let's test it first. All right, in order to make sure that the power is good at the power pedestal, we're gonna open it up. We're gonna make sure that all of the circuits are turned off, and then we're going to figure out which connection we want. We're 50, 30, or 110. Our trailer has a 30 amp connector, so that's the plug we're going to plug into the middle here. Once we plug it in, then we're going to flip the circuit to the 30 amp circuit, and we should get green lights on our surge protector, which we do. We have 3 green lights, so that means the power from the pedestal is good. So I'm going to turn it off and then connect the trailer, and then we'll turn the power back on. So to connect the power cord to the trailer, we're simply going to figure out the orientation of the plug and plug it in to the trailer, making sure that it's seated tightly in there, and then you're going to screw on the ring that holds it in place. Once that's done, then we can go back over to the pedestal and plug in the pedestal. Okay, back at the pedestal, simply open the surge protector cover and plug in. Make sure that that's seated properly, and then we're going to turn the power on to the 30 amp circuit, and we have green lights again, so we know we're good. I just hear the air conditioner kick on, so we're good to go for power. Once we're connected, what I always suggest is to kind of wind your power cord up and hang it on the pedestal. I don't normally like leaving it laying on the ground. I like to put it up on the pedestal to keep it up off the ground in case there's any inclement weather, which they're calling for rain tonight. So I'm going to keep the cable wound up and hung on the pedestal. Okay, so once the power is connected, the next step is to hook up the water. Again, for safety reasons, we're going to use a pressure regulator because we don't know what the pressure is coming out of the pipe here at the campground. We don't want to blow any of the seals in the trailer. So I always use a pressure regulator and a water filter to connect to the city water at the campground. I always put that on first at the spigot and then run my hose over to the trailer so that any water that's coming out of the spigot is filtered before it even gets into my water hose. I don't want to contaminate anything. So let's connect the regulator here and the filter, and then we'll connect the hose. Okay, so my trailer has a city water connection and a black tank flush, so we want to open up the city water connection. That's where we're going to connect our water hose from the filter over to the trailer. All right, I keep everything in this container here, again, to keep things from getting contaminated. I try to keep everything separate and sealed up so that nothing can get in to the water system. So we're going to connect to our filter first. And then to the trailer. Okay, simple as that. We're connected. Again, I'm going to try to hang the hose on the spigot at the campground so that it doesn't get dirty or anything sitting around on the campground. So we're just going to hang it up here, and now we are good to go. Well, that brings us to the last step of the trailer setup, which is the step that most people want to avoid and try not to do, but it's a necessary evil to set up your trailer, which is to connect the sewer hose. The first thing we have to do is, before we touch anything, is to make sure we put on gloves so we don't get any contaminants on ourselves. Okay, now that we have our gloves on, we're going to pull the sewer hose out of the rear bumper of the trailer, and we'll connect it underneath to the drain pipe on the trailer. Okay, so now that we have our hose next to us here, the first thing we need to do when we go to connect to the trailer is to make sure that both our gray water valve and our black water valve are completely closed. We don't want anything coming out when we take the cap off. Now, I'm also going to caution you, when you go to take that cap off, keep your face away from it, because sometimes there's a little bit of residual liquid in there that when you open the cap is going to come out, and we don't want to get on ourselves at all. So kind of hold my face back away from it a little bit, and then open the cap up. A couple of drips there, but not too bad. Set this aside, and then we're going to take our hose, and we simply line up the tabs with the tabs on the trailer. You feel it click, you want to insert it and turn it to the right, and you'll feel it click in, and there you have it. You're connected to the trailer now. So let's go over to the sewer at the campsite, and we'll connect on that side. Okay, now I'm over here at the sewer connection at the campsite. First thing we got to do is we're going to unscrew the cap. This is going to be a little bit unpleasant because there's going to be sewer gases come up. So we're going to try to do this as quickly as possible and get this connected so that we can get to enjoying ourselves. So we're going to insert our elbow in, and we're going to screw that into the sewer at the campsite. Once we get that connected, then we're just going to simply pull our hose over, and same thing that we did on the trailer, we're going to line up the tabs with the tabs on the hose and give it a quick turn to the right. You'll feel it click in, you can see the tabs engage, and now we are set up. And I use the Rhino-Flex hose so you can have a clear elbow here at the end where it goes into the ground, just so you can kind of see what's going on when you actually do dump your tanks. I know it's unpleasant to watch, but you really do need to see what's going on there to make sure that everything's flushed out. So now we're connected. We can put stabilizers underneath the hose if we want to. In this case, I'm not going to do that here today. I feel we're close enough that we don't need the stabilizers, but that's going to do it for connecting the sewer hose to your trailer. Well, there you have it, the steps that I used to set up my trailer. Pretty simple. When I first started out, it would probably take me 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more, to get everything set up. Now that I've done it a number of times, I can usually get set up completely within, say, 15 to 20 minutes. I would suggest that when you're starting out, you're doing this, probably want to get a checklist so that you can follow that and make sure you don't miss any steps. A couple of those items at the end there you could kind of do in a different order. I like to follow the same order every time so that I don't forget anything. Another suggestion I would have is, especially when you're new to this, is if you're setting up and somebody's talking to you, kind of try not to have a conversation. Concentrate on what you're doing and make sure that you get everything set up properly so that you don't have any issues once you get going. other than that, we're all set up now. We can enjoy the campground and get out here and do what we came to do, have some fun. So I guess that's going to do it for this episode of Get Out and Explore with John. So hopefully you learned something here today. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any comments or maybe some suggestions on things that you saw here on how I'm setting up the trailer, if there's a different or a better way, or if I forgot something, let me know in the comments down below, and we'll try to learn together here. And I think that's going to do it. So like I always say, you never know what you're going to see when you get out and explore with John.